Since I have to go. So my name is, excuse me, I know all of y'all at this point though. So Nancy Spooner, Tempo Live Events, and welcome to the Tempo Think Tank. This is the happy hour that went awry about a year plus ago, and we've turned it into a really fun industry gathering every other Tuesday where all of us contractors get to come together and do virtual hugs and talk about how we're making it, what we're up to, what's the latest technology, so on and so forth. And you guys had talked me into this because of questions that have come up, and I could see where we're going with our different discussions lately. Building our personal brand, and what that really is just figuring out how are we going to be legit businesses in the state of California because of AB5. But it's not just that. The PRO Act is coming. It's hidden in Congress right now, and it's basically the same thing, telling companies they can't hire independent contractors anymore. They all have to be employees unless they're legit businesses. I spoke with my attorney a couple weeks ago, and we went through some high level things that we're going to talk about in 2 weeks about how to be a business and how to look like a legit business in California, and then probably nationwide if that bill does pass through Congress. But meanwhile, the fun part, that's not the business, the LLC, the sole proprietor, the S Corp stuff. The fun stuff about building your personal brand is having that website, having that email address, having something that says, yeah, I'm a business. I'm not just a freelancer, because it's hard for companies to hire us as freelancers anymore. That's what Lexi is going to talk about today. Lexi and I go back to a wave somewhere. We met surfing, and we're in a women's surf group together and just naturally bonded. And she's super duper smart. If you guys saw her bio, girlfriend has been there, done that. She can trademark something faster than a speeding bullet, because I've seen it happen. and get domains, and she just is ideas, and she's a fantastic, successful entrepreneur and business coach. And I was just talking to her about Tempo the other day because she's helping me, when I realized, you know what, I think the think tank would love you. So without further ado, my dear friend and amazing woman, Lexia, take it away. Tell us how to make our personal brand.
I'm going to have Nancy introduce me for everything for the rest of my life. I love it. So I'm going to take you guys through. I've got a little bit of a PowerPoint so that we keep structured. And where this is aimed is, I want you to understand what personal branding means. I want you to get some very easy things to do to establish yourselves with low impact. I think that a lot of people come at you with like, you've got to do social media and you have to have this like fully built out website that does all of these incredible things. And I'm not a belief. I think that there are essential things that you need that will make you a business, that will make you far more professional than I already are. And they are very quick and easy. So it's sort of the path of least resistance that I believe in. I also don't believe in investing $1 million in your own personal brand. Especially as freelancers, our success and our abilities come from ourselves, and we are sort of the value of our businesses. And I think we sometimes get pushed into adding all sorts of bells and whistles that we don't need, where the core of what you're offering is you yourself and the ability you bring. So what I want to show you is how to enhance that, how to bring out the elements of each of your personalities so that you have your own personal brand. And then I'll give you some takeaways. And if we have some time, I will want to walk you through how to very quickly build a website on Wix, which literally will take you about 7 minutes. And people are like, oh my God, it's magic. You must have had an amazing developer. No, we don't do that. So I'm going to share my screen with you, hopefully successfully.
And they told Lexia that this is a conversation, not a webinar. Y'all, just when you need to stop and ask a question, just do it. And feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat room. I'll share these chat messages. We're recording all this, so this recording will also be shared. But you guys, it's a conversation, so feel free to jump in.
Yep. So my company is actually Verdant Field. And I want to do that with you because the company is based on freelancer. I don't necessarily want people to know that in the industry that I'm in. I am bigger than I am as an individual. And so I gave my company a name that represents what it is that I do and how I do it. And so I make businesses grow and flourish. I think the first question though really is like, what the hell actually is a personal brand? People always say that and you're like, yeah, sure, I know what it is. But, I know that Coca-Cola is a brand, and I know that Apple's a brand, and I know that, there was Steve Jobs, but a personal brand is really quite simply, it is your DNA. It is what we in the marketing world call a unique selling proposition. it is the DNA of what makes you an individual, and you bring that alive into the world from a marketing and a branding and a logo perspective. Each one of us is different, and as freelancers, you're being hired for the specific skill that you bring as a unique individual. And it's really super important to me that your brand is something that really reflects that. And there's a ton of ways that we do that. When you look at other brands, you look at a fashion designer like Cynthia Rowley, you go to her website, you can immediately see what she's about. She's bright, she's colorful, the name, her font, even though her brand is her name, it reflects exactly what her brand is about. It's got a little bit of a flourish to it. My homeboy, Trevor Noah, hope he's okay with me calling him that. Yay. You can see on his website, it's really about him as a person, but he brings in some of his South African heritage. I see that in the colors that he's using and in the pattern on his website. There's patterning there that speaks to him being maybe from a very foreign land like South Africa, where I'm from, which is delightful and brings a taste and an element of something different. So if you're from somewhere, or if there's something that you love, bring it into your personal brand as well. Bill Nye, the science guy, his website and his brand reflects exactly who he is. He's always on point. It's not magic, it's science. His font that he uses, the color palette that he uses, it all speaks to who he is as a personality. And then we have one of our very favorites. She's coming. There we go. Here's a Nancy. And so Tempo Live Events, the brand name not only reflects what it is that she does, but there's a story behind it. And that's super important. We all have a story. We all come from somewhere. I love the fact that Nancy's story is about where she grew up, and she's taken that and turned it into something that's so relevant to her brand and to her company. And in a very super easy way, she's just made this completely personal, and it has something that's different to just, she could have been ABC events, and we don't want you to have that. We don't want you to be ABC. We want you to be Amanda or Brian or Dave, or something that reflects, who you are and where you come from, or what it is that you do. So in essence, we need to come up with a name, to come up with a logo. You need a website. Those three things are non-negotiable. Your website can literally be one page, but those are the three things that you need to do to establish yourself. I'm going to talk you through how a name and a logo come about very quickly. And then we're going to talk about marketing at the end. I think it might surprise you what I tell you, being that I'm a marketing person, but we'll get to that at the end. So, name. Let's talk about some famous people we know. Oprah Winfrey, her brand is based on her as a person. She uses that name, and so you could be Brian Sullivan. It can be your signature. You can use your name there as your brand. It can be your company. What you have to do is build it out so that it's professional, so that it looks like it's something that's succinct and it means something. I like how Oprah's brought in her signature. I like how it's about her as a brand. If we look at another brand like Tesla, we know that there's someone behind it. We know that it's Elon Musk. We know that it represents something, but he's given his brand a name, and it's something that has to do with his company. He's given it a logo, which, by the way, I hate, but still we recognize it. But we know that there's someone behind it, and we know that there's a story to that brand. The couple of things you want to know: is your name well recognized? Do people know who you are? If you're known in your industry as Dave Long, you need to use that name. That's how people will find you. That's how people will recognize you. Do you have a nickname? So my nickname is Fancy Pants, and it's on my Facebook page. I have a brand called Fancy Pants. I use it all the time. Is there something that's recognizable about you? Max Brenner is an Israeli chocolatier. He's bald. He turned his company into Chocolate by the Bald Man. There's a beautiful store in New York City. So he took something that's a characteristic of himself and he turned it into his brand. I could do a brand I could be the girl with curly hair. That could be my brand, and I could create a logo that's centered around that, because that's something that people recognize me by. Is this something that tells a story about you? The way that Nancy Tempo, as the place that she came from, used it as her event company, that's something that tells a story about her. Love things like that. They really make your brand come alive. And is there a name you love? I have my Fancy Pants is my brand. Kitty Boo Cat is one of the girls who's on Instagram, and she, can create a brand around that. So is that something that you want to utilize? Is it something that makes you come alive? Is it something that people might know you as? These are all things that we can turn into something valuable as far as our company name goes. the important thing to think about here is this becomes your personal brand. Is it going to be your name? Is it something that you want to develop like Tempo or Fancy Pants? Or is it a logo or an icon that somebody knows you by? You want people to remember you, and you want people to find you. And then you want them to be able to recognize you from the logo that you create from that. So it all kind of goes hand in hand. All of that, and we translate that once we've decided on our name into a logo that's translatable. That's my Fancy Pants logo. I'm doing a stationery brand with it right now. It's something that really represents me. The colors and the image that I use in it is representative of what my brand is, and a lot of people know me as Fancy Pants. Jack Whitehall, the comedian and the travel writer, has a beautiful brand that he's created using his signature. It's very distinctive. Frida Kahlo Foundation, we all know what Frida Kahlo looks like. So if you have a hat that you use all the time, or maybe you wear glasses all the time, that's something that you can utilize when you create a logo. It doesn't just have to be a symbol that doesn't mean anything to anybody else. Tempo Live Events, Nancy took the name, she created a logo out of it, and it's something that signifies what she does and how she does it. And we absolutely love that. This was just kind of a random logo that I found, but I loved how they took the headphones, which is something that might be relevant to a tool that you use in your industry, and they combined it with a signature. So I could see how, Nancy might be able to use something like that if she had a headset and her name Nancy underneath it. That's something that can work too. I know it might sound complicated, but what you need to do is to sit down and give yourself, even if it's 10 minutes of time, to say, this is what I want to call my company. These are the things that I feel signify who I am and what it is that I do. And I'm going to show you ways to make that come alive. I'm not expecting anybody to draw anything ever. I can't draw. It's terrible. What is your brand about? Let me just move my little screen there. What's your brand DNA? What is your unique selling proposition? That's what you have to figure out first. And then what name represents that? Is it your name? Is it something that is relevant to your industry? Is it something that's part of the story that you tell? What image accompanies it? So is there a signature? Is it your name? Is it an icon? How do we draw that in so that it actually becomes a logo and a brand? And then what colors belong to it? I'm very bright. I've got bright colors around me. Most of what I do is bright. My In the Verdant Field logo is bright. My Fancy Pants logo is bright. But you might be more modern and clean. So it might be a black and white logo, which is great. But you want to make sure that you have the colors that represent who you are as a person, because that becomes what your company represents and how people recognize you. What fonts express it? There's a million fonts out there in the world. You cannot just use Arial and Times New Roman, and I forbid you ever to use Comic Sans. If you're using that, you may not use it anymore. It's a word processing font, and we can do better. Consistency is key. Choose a font. Actually, choose two. One for headings and one for body copy. They don't have to be the same font as your logo. And develop a color palette and stick to it. It's super important, the consistency throughout everything that you do, your email signature, the font that you use for your Word documents, how you invoice people, what it looks like on your website. We don't necessarily realize how cohesive that is for people when they approach you and approach your brand. And it's one of the major elements of branding that sometimes people neglect. They forget to put all the parts and pieces together. But if you establish that from the get-go, the consistency through what you do is just so vital and so important. And one of the best compliments someone gave me was, I run a beverage company as well, and they said, how do you get your company to look like a Fortune 500 brand? And it was when we started. And the key is it's consistent. If I give people a pen, it has the same logo on it that I have on my website. It has the same font. It is in the same color palette. And it comes across as a very thorough and well thought out brand. And I think it's what make people hire you. I think it's what makes you look professional. These are my fonts. I use Atom for headlines. I use ITC Avant-Garde Gothic, and my very favorite body font is called Glacial Indifference. Yes, mainly because I love the name, but because it's a beautiful font and you can install it onto your computer and use it in all of your Word documents. Super easy. My brand In the Verdant Field, this is what my kind of logo book looks like. Once my logo is developed, I have a color palette. I have 4 base colors there, and I have my 3 bright colors. I have Futura, and that's what I use for that brand, and it's consistent through everything I do. Those are the colors that I use if I ever have to give my brand book to someone. It's there, and it's very easy to set up. It's not difficult to do. These are colors that speak to me as a person. There are colors that speak to each of us as a person, and you need to capture that and utilize it in how you represent yourself as a personal brand. And it can be browns and golds, it can be black and white, it can be gray. It doesn't matter. Just make sure that the consistency is there, and how it expresses who you are is there. Resources. Let me just pause for a second and see if there are any questions. I just went through like a million ideas of branding, and in about 25 seconds. Wave if you have a question. Sid.
Do you have any recommendations for places to find different fonts?
Yes. So Font Squirrel is one of my favorite places. You know, I think that even if you just go to Google and you Google fonts, what pops up, you'll find most companies do free fonts, or you can buy a font for $25 and use it commercially. I love Google because it really does a great job of collating every font that's out there in the world. And it will lead you to where to purchase those fonts. Make sure that it's something that works with the system if you're on Mac or a PC. Make sure that it's a font that is commercially available and isn't hand-drawn. But I mean, fonts is an amazing world, and I could literally spend days looking at them. So, and I like to credit the font creators and purchase their fonts if I can. They're generally not too expensive.
I just put Font Squirrel in the chat room.
Thank you, Nancy. As far as resources go, you know, there are some fantastic designers out there on Upwork. I shy away from Fiverr when it comes to developing logos, because they generally just really use a lot of templates that are out there. Upwork is a great platform for finding freelancers in any kind of field, designers, web designers, all sorts of creators, coders, social media managers. I generally find the quality of work much better. I choose designers who are generally from Europe or Africa. So I go to Serbians, Russians, Lithuanians. They have a design sensibility that speaks to me. And when you go to Upwork, you can have a look at people's portfolio. So if you want to get a logo designed for you in a very unique way, Upwork is a way you can go. And people, like, I'm paying designers $8 an hour right now, and they're in other countries. I'm so happy to give people the work. It's not, we're not pillaging the nation, you know, like, it's the $8 is what they're asking for. And you know, I kind of believe in a global community of design and freelancers. So I like to give money back to people out there. That being said, Canva is one of the best tools that you can use. It has great resources for creating logos. You can go on there. You don't even need a pro account. You can go in, you can type logo design. You can get color palettes, you can get icons, you can get logo ideas. You know, it will ask you if you want to do a logo with your signature. It will ask you if you want to pull up a, you know, a stock photograph or a stock illustration. And it's a wonderful way of putting it together. The other nice thing about Canva is you can store all of your design work in there. So if you want to create a postcard, or you do want to do a social media post, you want to create your color palette, it's all in there too. Adobe has a Adobe Spark, which is a more sophisticated version. I didn't put it in there because it's kind of behind a bigger paywall, but it is there. Then there are companies like Taylor Brands, which I love. You can type in a name or a name idea, and it will spit out a logo for you that people won't even believe has not been designed by a professional uniquely for you. You know, and the prices range around the $25 range, maybe upwards. I mean, this is, you know, I'm talking about, this is the kind of money I think that you should be spending on a logo. Unless you are an international brand, this is kind of where you could be. And it will give you the most professional work. So between Canva, Tailor Brands, and Envato, which is a version of Canva, they're sort of template driven, but you end up with something unique. And if you apply the color palette that speaks to you, and you apply fonts to what it is that you're doing, you can uniquely make yourself different to other people that are out there. Even though somebody probably has your same logo, they're made by Tailor Brands, it doesn't matter. We're not trying to kind of reinvent the wheel here, like it's okay. But they're not trademarked, you're not stealing anybody's work, and you're paying for it. As far as name generators go, I actually like automated name generators. I think that they come up with great ways of sparking ideas. So if you're going to build a company that is not based on your name, so if Luann Davis decides that she wants a dahlia as the symbol of her company, and she wants to find a name that works with that, these name generators are actually really great. I like Business Name Generator. It comes up with some super fun things. You can put in what category you're in, what industry you're in, and it will give you some names that work with that. But my very, very favorite is to actually go to Shopify. And you don't have to build your website with Shopify. In fact, that's not what I recommend. But if you go to Shopify, they have a name generator. And the fabulous thing that it does as well is it tells you if there's a domain available associated with that. And that is something that I wanted to talk about, because your domain can kill you. You come up with the best name in the world, and you find out that somebody else has got Sid King, and you've designed your logo, you've done everything else, and someone owns that. I always tell people to buy their own names if you can. Go to GoDaddy, go somewhere, buy your name, buy your kid's name, buy your dog's name. I probably own thousands of domain names just because I'm like, oh yes, cups, we need that domain name. 4-letter domain names are the most valuable things in the world to get. If you find one, buy it. Doesn't matter if it sounds like nonsense. I actually met someone the other night who has been offered an enormous amount of money for club.com. And Clubhouse, he bought it 20 years ago, however long the internet's been in existence. So Shopify does a great job. Find your domain, find your name at the same time. When you do find your name, go and look for the domain. Go to wherever it is that you're going to register your domain from, and see what's there. Before you do your logo, it might make you decide to do something different. And it can change the direction of how you do things. There are plenty more resources out there. If you're not finding what you look for, you can always swing me a line. I can give you more resources, or again, like a Google search will get you more design platforms, more name generators. But if you work with what I've given you here, you have more than enough to start with. So you're creating your name, you're creating a logo and your color palette that works with it. And let's talk about your website. So if there is one thing that you have, actually there should be two things. One is you need a presence on LinkedIn. If you don't have one already, if you do have one already, you're going to put your logo and your new imagery with your LinkedIn presence. If you don't, I feel like everybody in the professional world needs to have a LinkedIn profile of some sort. You don't have to build a page for your business. It can just be you. If you want to build a page for your business, you can. But that it is the thing that establishes credibility. And then you really do need to have a website. A one-pager is fine, but when people Google you, they have to see that you have some kind of web presence if you want to start a company. I like to really keep it very simple. Wix.com is the golden tool. If you find any web service, I would use Wix.com. The reason that I like Wix is that you can go there to register your domain, you go there to build your website, you go there to set up your email, and then you can add in things if you want to. It's literally a one-stop shop for everything. I think we get very spread because someone says register a domain with GoDaddy, and someone says, well, do your email through Microsoft Office Suite. That's great if you have like 10 people working for you, but you're one person managing your website and building it yourself. Wix is $20 a month for all of those services. It will host your website. You will build it through their AI. You will register your domain there, and you will have an email address that has your name. So Casey.com will have Casey@Casey.com associated with it. Those emails can come to your Gmail. You can direct them to your Hotmail. You can direct them to your old Yahoo account. I don't care what it is, but if you run a business, you need a domain and you need an email address that goes with it. And that's the first element of credibility. If somebody comes to me with an email address that's a Gmail and they're saying that they're a business, I'm like, are you? I'm going to have a look a little bit further, just because I'm a little nosy like that. But, those are the elements that you need. As far as search engine optimization, if you want to put event booking on it, if you want to put music, you want to link your social media, you can go ahead and do that, but you need the basics first. The other thing I love about Wix.com is that you can add all of that in, and it's a one-click process to make sure that your Instagram's connected, and if you're an Instagram person, or it's a one-click process to connect your event booking. If you're into blogging, you can put a blog there. These are not things that you need to do. I'm delighted if you register a domain, if you make that your email and you have a one page up there. Like that would make me delighted. I think that those are the basics that you need, but go wild. I mean, if you want to do something different with it, make it an expression of yourself. Yes, Nancy.
I also want to add that when I was talking to an attorney about AB5 and Tempo and all that stuff, she said, those that you hire need to have their own email address. They can't be Gmail. You don't want them with a Gmail address, and you want them to have a business name, and a website's even better, so that we look like businesses and not freelancers that are hard for production companies to hire. Tempo has a clause because we are a referral agency. We're not a production company, so I can hire you guys, but I need to start covering my bases, especially if this other law goes through. So that's super important to businesses like me that want to hire you too. I want to see a business name, not a Gmail account anymore. There you go. My 2 cents. That's what the attorney said to do. That's the law.
If the attorney said to do it,
I know. Let's do it.
Let's quickly talk about marketing. I think that there's this assumption that we have to market ourselves, and there's like these set ways. People are like, what's your Instagram? Are you on Snapchat? People are feeling like they compelled to do TikTok videos. Like, I don't know, they frighten me. I open them up and then suddenly people are talking to me. I don't know what to do. You can do marketing for your company if you want to. You can do as much marketing as you want to spend. You can do paid advertising. You can do a postcard campaign. It really depends on how people find you, and it really depends on how you want your business to work. Generally, let's not do marketing. I think that we as a marketer, it sounds so counterintuitive to say, but people get coerced into spending so much money and putting so much effort and spending so much time on things that do not generate them business. Especially in your profession where you are freelancers, people generally know you, or you're going to get referred. Spend some time and some effort on LinkedIn, make the contacts that you need to. And if you love Instagram and you want to put pictures of your vacation or your cat or the inside of your keyboard or whatever it is, go for it, do it. But do not ever feel compelled that that is what you have to do in order to be successful as a company. It's nonsense. Most brands that I work with have in excess of $100,000 to make a small amount of impact with social media. And that is not even on an annual basis. These things are not organic anymore. They are all paid. And I don't believe that it's necessary for most professionals to have to do marketing when they create themselves as a company. I work with so many people who get so frustrated because they might be spending some money on paid social, or they might be spending money or time setting up their Facebook page, or feel compelled to write a blog because somebody said that blogging is the way to do, or they're trying to do a podcast or whatever it might be. If it's not natural for you to do that, if it's not native to your brain to do those things, don't do them. It's not what's going to get you more business. Being who you are and how you do it is what's going to get you business. Word of mouth is going to get you business. Your LinkedIn account is going to get you business. Your one page of website is going to get you business. But I don't think that it's necessary to go beyond. again, I don't want to shoot myself in the foot because I'm a marketing professional, but I think that nowadays you need a lot of money in order to create impact in those arenas, and you're much better off spending your $100 on a logo and a name and making sure that your website is consistent. That being said, if you want to know about internet marketing, we can have another chat about that. It can work, but I think you have to spend a lot of effort and energy on it, which most freelancers just don't have the time to do. Couple of little extras for you. For video, if you want to create videos of anything, Magisto is like a secret, like it's like some kind of like internet god sent it, and it makes these magical things. You can take 10 photographs, set it to music. In about 15 minutes, it spits out the most professional video that you've ever had. So if you want to do a portfolio of your work and you wanted to have video or even just still images, Magisto is just magic. I love Calendly. If you need to book a meeting with me, you go to my website, you click on Calendly. I don't do anything. It's connected to my Gmail. It will tell you if I've got a spot open. You can go ahead and book it. I do think you should have business cards. And if you want to have stickers, have them. And if you want to do pens, do them. And if you want to do mugs, you should do them with your beautiful new logo and your fabulous name. I think that you should do the things that make you feel good about the company that you're starting and what you've established. I love Vistaprint. It used to be like the cheapest down and dirty company, and you'd have to have like their name stuck on the sticker as well. They're a one-stop shop for everything that you could need at possibly the most reasonable prices. And I should be an affiliate, but they don't know I exist and buy thousands of dollars of things from them. Once you have your logo and your name, you stick it onto Vistaprint, and it will print out everything that you need. It will apply that logo and name to everything from notebooks to coffee cups. If you want to go a little bit more premium, I love Moo.com. They do beautifully sized business cards. They do squares and little thin slips of business card. You can do gloss prints. Sometimes we do, amazing little sparkly things, and they have great papers. One of the things that I love about Moo.com is they do a business card that is a lot thicker than a normal business card. So if one day when we get back to trade shows and things like that, if somebody's carrying 25 business cards from people and yours is slightly thicker or has a different texture, it always stands out, and Moo.com does an amazing job of that. That's the end of my slideshow part. I do want to walk you through Wix. Go, Nancy.
Real quick, I threw in the chat room, Sticker Mule is how I do my stickers. They're little vinyl, super easy stickers, and I tag everything, and they're super cheap too. So I put Sticker Mule in there. I love them for stickers. It's just kind of fun to tag all your friends on show site with your sticker.
And like for In the Verdant Field, I just did business cards where you can plant them. They've got wildflowers in them. Someone just sent me a picture of their planted business card. So the business card that I created is relevant to my brand. It's about making brands grow and flourish. And so you can plant my business card and then have a little wildflower thing. I can't keep anything alive, so I can't actually plant my own business card, but still don't tell anybody that. Let me walk you through. So are there any more questions? I just fire hosed you with like everything that you need to know about sort of logo and branding and naming. Hit me with any questions that you have.
Hi, I love what we've been talking about so far, because I just went through all the logo and branding process and actually just had to move my domain. So I'm about to do a new splash page. Yeah. But as freelancers who are working for agencies and also having worked previously with an AV company, a lot of the agencies will put in place a absolutely no logo, but ours on site type edict. And we're in a position where if we are hired by agency X, we're brand representatives for agency X. So from a marketing standpoint, we're marketing ourselves and our skills. And I know a lot of people in this room, to each other and the agencies, but at the same time, our role is to blend in and make them look good. So it's kind of a double-edged sword at that point.
I hear you. And I mean, I think that is a very great indicator that in that circumstance, I would use my name as my logo. Just because you have a website and a company name and a logo doesn't mean that you always have to utilize it. When the point of that is it's part legal in this circumstance because everybody's going to have to move towards having set up a company. And if you're going to do that, have yourself established. But at some point, somebody's going to look for you and somebody's going to need to hire you. And that's the point where you are going to utilize the company that you set up, the logo that you create.
It's the intersection point.
It's the intersection point, exactly. And I mean, there are absolutely times where you get to the point of being hired and you blend into the background and become part of a team and part of an agency, and you are completely anonymous, which is fine. But in the end, someone's going to have to invoice you and your company. Somebody's going to have to look for you and your company. And I think that you deserve better and are more unique and individual than just being a Word document. You know,
No, absolutely. It's just you know, we're marketing. We just have to look at who we're marketing to, and that's the presentation point.
And that's exactly, and that's the whole point of spending money on marketing. You know, you know, having worked a bit with Nancy, understanding how your industry works. You know, your marketing is a little bit wasted if you're going to spend any money of it, because people are going to find you by your name and by who you are, and then you're going to become part of their team. You know, so you have the opportunity to let your website and you know, your name and some of your branding, your emails you send, be part of that. You know.
And I'm very, I'm with you, Scott. Some clients, like I'm on a show right now, and that's why I have to be out here at 2 for rehearsal. Those email signatures are usually Nancy Spooner, event producer. I don't have Tempo. I'm not branded because I have to respect my client. They don't want Tempo showing up. And some clients are like, yeah, it's fine. They know you're freelance. But some clients, you're right, we have to hide. So it's just my name. And I have nancyspooner.com as well. So.
And it's real easy to do multiple signature lines in your emails, so you can select it as you pass through.
Yes. And I was telling Alexi about that. I don't know if there's something else. I did this years ago and I still use it. I'm putting it in there. ystamp.com, I believe it is. And I have, when I am sending you guys an email, I can choose, there's like a little button down there and I choose which email to select. Nancy Spooner, my son's school, it's Nancy Bashara, my real last name. So I got all kinds of signatures and many identities, but one passport.
Multiple identities.
One passport, but yes. I'll put that in the notes.
Any other questions on that? Let me take you through, has anybody here ever built a website or had any experience with that? Nancy, I don't know if you count. Scott's like sort of.
In process right now, having to do a new splash page.
Okay, so I'm gonna, watching the clock because I know that Nancy has to go. I want to just take you through a Wix.com very quickly. I know I saved it here somewhere. Where is it? It is gone. Hang on. I'm not so good at screen sharing. Maybe that's one area that I need to work on myself. Here we go. Okay, Wix. You know, if you don't own a domain yet, you have to buy it from somewhere. It's just generally much easier if you buy it from a place where you don't have to transfer it over. So if you buy your domain at GoDaddy, you would have to transfer your domain into somewhere that or like can host it. And, you know, it can become this technical nightmare of understanding DNS, you know, folders and things like that. So it just kind of doesn't work for me from that perspective. I also want to be able to create things pretty quickly. So you can all see my screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if I create a new site on Wix, let's hope that none of my children are on the internet right now, because then we won't be creating anything. It will pull it up. And basically, from my perspective, it has the best AI. We're going to create a business, and we're going to let Wix ADI create a website for me. So we're going to start that.
What's ADI?
It's their automatic design interface. I think that's what they call it. I call it an AI. This can be before you've purchased your domain, or it could be after. So there are other areas where you can go to purchase your domain. Let's say we're going to do let's call ourselves a producer. Let's see if something comes up. Let's call ourselves I'm just going to go with a corporate video producer, not a livestock producer, because that would be something very different. Let's say that's what we're going to do, and we're going to hit next. What do we need on our website? I don't actually want any video. I don't want any chat. I don't want an online store. I don't want a forum. I don't want blogs or bookings or anything else like that. No, we're just going to kind of keep it super simple. Let's call it Fancy Pants Productions, and hit there. For now, I don't have an existing website, so I'm not going to draw anything in. If you have an existing website, you can actually type the domain name in, and it can import some of the content from there. Sometimes the images as well. It does a great job. I'm not going to worry about my logo or my email address, because I know that I'm in the process of creating this amazing logo. And what appeals to me? Well, I'm going to go with high rise, because that looks good, and pick that theme. So what is that, like 6 clicks so far, and I'm halfway through building my website. It's generating it now. And you can always switch from their ADI to their actual editor if you want to further down the line. And it's going to spit out 3 different homepage designs for me, which I can then go in and customize with the colors and things that I want to. But they're actually really good looking. I'm going to use this one. This one looks like very professional to me for my Fancy Pants production company. And we should have clicked on livestock production, because I would have loved to have seen what stock imagery they created there. And then it gives you the opportunity to tailor different pages to your site. But basically what this has done is built a website for us in, just a few minutes and a few clicks. I can add in an about page. I've got services that I can add in over here. My content information, if there are things that I don't like, I can change that. It's really a fantastic way of building, whether you're doing a splash page, whether you want to do a full integrated website. But there it is. I just built Fancy Pants Productions. It's a website that has services, it has a contact, information. I can go ahead and I can change anything on the left-hand side as I click on things. Honestly, I think that what it spits out is a website that looks like it was professionally done. And you don't have to know anything about managing a website at all. And when you go to their account page, you can see on the left there, you can register your domain. You can set up mailboxes for the domain that you create. So that's your email. And then you can easily integrate it into your, as it says there, it gives you a whole suite of business tools. And honestly, I feel like it is the easiest way to create a website without needing any kind of investment. And this is a $20 a month website. I literally can create 10 of these in an hour and have something that really looks very professional, like in an instant. And then it becomes fully customizable. You can choose the colors. If you want to go back once you've changed if you've created a new logo, once you've registered your domain name, and it's all synced in together. It's like a one-stop shop. I think it's kind of magic. It definitely changed my the way that I do web design and build things if I need something very quickly and on the fly. And I sometimes create a company a week, so I need.
That's a true story. I've been there.
Yeah, Jeff.
First of all, thank you. This was one of the most straightforward and actionable personal branding sessions I've ever had. So kudos to you. Very, very helpful. I'm just curious. I've definitely heard of Wix, and thank you for that walkthrough. But the one I'm more familiar with as I've contemplated doing this is Squarespace. Yep. So I was curious if you had any opinion, pro or con, on Squarespace.
Yeah, so I've worked extensively on Squarespace, Shopify, and Wix. Those are the 3 sites that I'm the most familiar with. Squarespace, it's just for the ADI, for the how automatically Wix creates your website for you. I don't think that Squarespace offers that. And the other thing that I really don't like about them is that the variety of templates they offer, if you're doing rudimentary web design, I think that Wix gives you much more versatility, but it's the ADI that sells me, because I want that thing up and running, and then I can play around with it, you know, down the road. If I'm sitting somewhere at an airport, I can fiddle around with my website. Squarespace, the templates are beautiful. I think they work better if you have if I was designing gorgeous Scandinavian furniture, Squarespace would be, like, without a doubt where I'd go. You know, if you looking for an e-commerce enabled site, if you really want to sell on e-commerce, nothing else other than Shopify. But for personal brand websites, Wix is easy. And I have had to move a website out of Squarespace. So that wasn't the most fun week of my life, really, I have to say.
That was
But
great.
I mean,
I built my original website from Squarespace. That's how I built mine.
Yeah, I mean, and
then my husband moved it.
they do beautiful websites, but you know, if you want to manage it on your own, it's not what I would recommend.
So Nancy, you also do not recommend it?
I'm not on it anymore. I felt mine was old and stale, and my husband is more of a tech guy, and he just went up going to WordPress, which I don't recommend. That's not user friendly. But I loved how user friendly Squarespace was. But I think I still had to get my domain over at GoDaddy. I think I still had things. I don't know if it's the same way anymore, but I'm loving what you said about Wix. It just seems like it's all right there.
Really
Yeah, Wix is much a cleaner interface from what I've seen so far. I was looking at WordPress, and I just did a domain change from hosting, so I've been dealing with those same headaches. And WordPress has not been very user friendly and has kind of ruled themselves out.
WordPress came from a weird place. So, you know, really back in the day, it was a blog platform. And then they evolved into this. I mean, it's like apparently big news stations use WordPress. It's the mainframe of it is quite significant. But working with WordPress was probably not also my favorite experience. It's very difficult. And I think when you understand the trajectory of that company and how it came to be, but yeah, not sort of so user friendly.
They've integrated themselves with a lot of the hosting agencies as their backbone, where Wix is, you know, it's kind of a standalone, and as a standalone has been not. I'm moving away from them.
Yeah, and I actually just built my In the Virgin Field website is built on GoDaddy. I wanted to try it out and see what it was like. And I didn't mind it, but I would still rather have done Wix. I think it's still easier for plug and play. You know, when you just kind of want to get it out there. I think that sometimes we get too in our own heads about branding and companies and logos and names. And, you know, if I leave you with anything, it's like, again, we're not working on a cure for cancer. It's if your gut is like okay with it, go with it. Even if your uncle doesn't like your logo colors and you love it, just go with it, you know. And you can always make tweaks and changes along the way, but like I think that you have to leap first and then, you know, change things as you do it, and be okay with doing that. Like, it's okay. Nobody will know if you change your one pink from that pink to another pink and it's not the same for 2 weeks on your website. I used to freak out about those kind of things. I do not anymore. Yeah. What else can I tell you? So one of the things that I did want to offer you is, if you go to my website, intheverdantfield.com, you'll see that I do have a Calendly link there. And I will do a free 45 minutes with you. So you can go and pick appointments with me at any time. You know, make it opportune so that we have enough stuff to talk about. And also, if you are stuck on anything, swing me an email. You don't have to book an appointment. If you're like, what did you say about the thing? Or do you know how to do the other thing? Email me. I have a phone or computer connected to me pretty much 24/7, no matter where in the world I am. I'm always happy to answer any questions. And I love talking about this stuff. And if you have a logo that you're not sure of, or you have, you know, a color palette that you're not sure if it works or anything like that, just, you know, swing it by me, you know, and see what I think. I'll give you my 2 cents, I promise.
Wow. I just put your website in there, and her email address is in the chat room as well. That's worth your 45 minutes. That's cool, Alexia. Thank you.
You're welcome. I love to talk to people. So
I do have a question.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was wondering about LinkedIn. I abandoned mine for a while and haven't really gone back in. I remember in the beginning, you wanted to get connections and you wanted people to promote you and things. I'm just curious what it is like now for any active users.
I want you to get back on it because it is so helpful for us to find you and for me to show my clients you. And when I got audited a few years ago, pre-AB5 for having independent contractors, my attorney said, make sure your independent contractors that you've hired on their LinkedIn page says freelancer and that they are a business and they're freelance. And so there's so many ways people can find you like that on LinkedIn, and companies that have called me and looking for you all have said, I checked on LinkedIn and I just can't find what I'm looking for. But, so they do look, everyone's looking at LinkedIn if you want more work. And it's really fun to see, like if I go on LinkedIn and I'm trying to find, I was trying to find a producer in Dallas one day. And that's how I found Cindy Childers, because she came up, she was a number 2. She wasn't connected to me, but I called the guy that I knew that was connected to her and said, who's the Cindy Childers woman? Because she's in Dallas and I need a producer. And if you guys know Cindy, she's usually almost always on this think tank. And she's probably one of my number 1 producers. And I found her on LinkedIn many years ago because she was a number 2. But I went to the source that knew her. And so I'm just saying, y'all need to be on LinkedIn.
You don't have to do the connect to 100,000 people. Nope. You don't have to be in the top 1%. Like you don't even have to connect to anybody. I think even LinkedIn realizes that it's not about the connections anymore, but make sure that your current, make sure it has your updated contact information, and make sure that it just, I think that it's a great way of putting your resume out there. If I'm looking for somebody with a specific skill set, I always go to LinkedIn. Just to see. And then who do they know? Do they know people that I know? Sometimes, if you want to invest a little bit of energy. I mean, there are people who are using LinkedIn now, who are blogging, who are, putting updated articles all the time, who are getting a lot of work through there. So if it's something you find you want to invest yourself in, do. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like most of us are maybe too busy to kind of keep that updated all the time.
Just put your resume up there, worst case.
Also, for what it's worth, I'm applying to agencies and it's assumed you have a LinkedIn presence. They even have like one of the very first lines when you get into the nitty gritty of the application is, what is your LinkedIn name, and put the link here. It's like they assume that you're on it. So you can take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice seeing you, by the way.
Yeah, Amanda, I'm not always on it, but I will say it's been very useful for me. I just had a interview with a company for a producer role, and the director of production sent a colleague my LinkedIn address. And I thought that was very cool. I've never seen that before. You're talking to a person that's never really on it, but I find it very useful. So just to piggyback Nancy and Alexia, you got to do it. I can't tell you I get work. Pre-COVID, I wasn't getting work like every week, but I still got a job out of it, once a year.
Yep. I copy and paste your resumes and send them to companies all the time when they're looking for people. I'm like, if I don't have your resume on file or it's not updated, I just go to LinkedIn and be like, here's Amanda. She knows her stuff. Trust me.
And it's also a great contact point of, we've all bumped into each other in that ballroom on that show, and the reminder of, oh, that's how I remember, Miles and I worked on Project X, and absolutely I can, is he available, recommend them. It's just a reference point of, our crews change daily. We keep track of who's where.
That was a great show, by the way.
Except for the columns.
Scott, to that point also, keep your photographs updated. So if you're using a LinkedIn photograph or put your photograph on your website, sometimes I will peer at a photograph to see if it's the right person that I'm looking for. I hate it when it's 35 years old, unless you're using a baby photograph, or, just make it current, because you do look for that facial recognition of, oh yeah, it's the person from the ballroom in the comm section. Yeah. So.
Hey, just a quick question. Do you see any benefit to purchasing the premium, or just staying on free? What are the real benefits of doing the premium?
If your company is paying for it and they're prepared to pay, I've been on the paid version in a couple of different, career permutations, and it's never been valuable to me in any way. The free is absolutely fine. I think that if you're job hunting, and you maybe want to keep or if you want to keep your profile private, or you want to have access to other people, there could be benefits there. But no.
I think you get phone numbers or maybe email addresses too, and you can see exactly who looked at your profile if you're premium. I've never bought it. It's fine. I just message people.
It's really funny. I swear by it. I think it's the best. I think it's the best $275 a year you can spend because you're not limited. It tells you who's looking at your profile for starters. Now, maybe the free version does that, but I know there's super advantages in paying the yearly fee. And then they have another one beyond that, but that's just more of the same. But if you can do everything in that first tier, you're golden.
You know, you can always do a trial. I think they have a trial and you can utilize that and see if it's useful to you, or do it for a month if you find it helpful.
Yeah, I find it invaluable.
You can only send 30 emails a month though. If someone responds to you, you'll get a credit, but you're limited to 30 so you don't blast the world. But it's 119 a month.
I think it's a lot of money. I would rather just Google the person and I'm sure I can find their email address and email them freely.
Or look at who they're connected to.
Yeah.
Hey, I hate to wrap it up, but I have to wrap it up because I have a 2 p.m. rehearsal in 4 minutes. But
Thank you so much.
Alexia, this was everything I thought it'd be. You're awesome.
Oh my
Thank you,
gosh.
Alexia.
Thank you, Alexia.
Thank you
Thank
for having
you.
me, guys. I really appreciate it. I saw someone already booked a session with me. I think it was Stacy. Yep. And it popped up on my email and I look forward to talking to you guys again. Literally, please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions or queries or anything. And book 45 minutes, we'll chat.
And I'm going to send this record out to you all. And then in 2 weeks, it's the attorney and a CPA explaining what's best for us as independent contractors to now become LLCs, S Corps, C Corps, sole proprietors. What are the tax benefits? What are the legal benefits? What's the most cost-effective way to be legit businesses? Because if you notice, it's getting hard. Some production companies will put you on payroll if you are not a real business, and so on and so forth. So that's coming up in 2 weeks. I have scored an accountant and a CPA. I mean, a attorney and a CPA. So, and the CPA is in our business, which is nice. She's from our industry, which would be very nice. So
Thank you, Nancy. Thanks a
That's-
lot.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Great.